Hey guys, my name's Dave from Guitar Zero to Hero, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review and demonstration of one of my favorite pieces of gear, the BOSS Katana Air. I'll be going through all the features, my thoughts on the amp, what I like, what I don't like, and I'll be doing some playing as well so you can hear how it sounds. As far as practice amps go, this is probably one of the most feature-packed and convenient practice amps that you can get. Now, BOSS refers to this amp as the world's first totally wireless guitar amp, and it's one of the biggest selling points for this particular model over the other models in the Katana range. So what do they mean by totally wireless? Well, this amp can be battery operated, so you don't need to plug it into a wall socket, so it's great for traveling, but also it comes with an inbuilt wireless guitar receiver. So this thing is really, really convenient. No cables, no nothing, just this wireless receiver, and it's got a pretty decent range on it as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the convenience of this wireless system. Now, I just leave it on my electric guitar, I put it on the rack, and there's a standby mode. So after about 5 minutes, the amp will just turn itself off. There's an accelerometer in the wireless receiver that actually senses when the guitar is not being played. So it will turn the amp off automatically. And then as soon as I pick up the guitar again, the accelerometer will notice that, and then I'll turn the amp on, and then you can start playing right away. You don't have to touch any buttons, just pick up the guitar and you're good to go. Now, that level of convenience is usually just reserved for acoustic guitarists, where they can pick up a guitar and just play and they're good to go, don't need any extra gear. And that's what this amp does so well. You can pick up your electric guitar, start playing, and you don't need any wires, don't need any cables. It's really convenient. And that's probably the reason why I love playing this so much, because there's just a really low amount of friction when it comes to practicing with this amp. You just pick up your guitar and you're good. Now, in terms of tweaking the tones and effects on this amp, you can do it all on the panel, but if you really, really want to nail down your tones and get really in depth with the effects and fine tune those parameters, then you'll want to use the BOSS Tone Studio phone app with the amp. And that's really how you'll explore all the tonal possibilities. But even without the app, it's really great. Let's start with the top panel. I'll introduce you to all the features, and then we'll dig into the mobile app later. All right, let's look at our top panel, and we start with our amp models here. So you got acoustic, so you can plug your acoustic guitar in. You got clean, you got crunch, you got lead, and then you got brown, which is our super high gain amp model. Then you got 5 knobs that control the tone of the actual amp. So you got gain, you got volume, and a 3-band EQ, bass, middle, and treble. Moving on, these 2 knobs control the effects. You got boost pedals, you got modulation pedals, you got delay pedals, and effects pedals. Now, it's tricky and almost impossible to know what effects you're using just using the top panel. So that's where the app comes in handy, because then you can fine tune and select the exact modulation effects or delay effects that you want. Then we have the reverb knob here. So to set your reverb level and master volume. Then we have channel buttons. So this is channel A. So in channel A, you have 3 different patches, and channel B has 3 different patches as well. So a total of 6 saved patches on the amp. And then you have panel button. So that means the tone that you're hearing is the current settings of all the knobs, as opposed to a pre-saved patch or tone. Then you got your Bluetooth pairing button, on-off switch, you have a headphone jack, a regular input jack, so you don't need to necessarily use the wireless dongle if you don't want to. And then we have the dock for the wireless receiver. So when you plug it in, it'll just automatically start charging itself, as it does run on an internal battery. Let's hear how these amp models sound, and I'll start with just the clean channel, and I'll just have some reverb on it. I won't have any other effects other than just the inbuilt reverb. All right, we'll move on to crunch, and this is starting to get a little bit more bite into it. So this is probably more for your country sort of tones. Next, we move on to the lead channel, and this is where we start getting that Brit high gain sound. And then finally we get to the brown sound, and this is the really high gain metal sort of channel. So the top panel is all very self-explanatory to use. I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of the presets that are included with the amp, and it sort of gives you a little overview of the different effects that you can get with this amp. So that's it for the top panel. Now, one of the features I use probably the most on this amp is the Bluetooth connectivity. With the Bluetooth connectivity, it makes it so easy for you to just find a backing track and jam along to it using the guitar tones in the Katana. So what I do is I just go on YouTube, I find some guitar backing tracks, and I just love jamming and soloing over the top of them. My favorite channel for jam tracks is called Elevated Jam Tracks. I'll leave a link to the description below. So you can just push play on your phone, it'll play on the Katana Air, and then you can jam along to it. Now I'll just quickly show you the Boss Tone Studio phone app. And as I mentioned before, this is where you can really dive in and tweak the effects and sounds. So on this front page, it's just the amp and EQ, so really simple settings. Then on this right-hand side page here, we have effects and presence. So this is where you can really fine tune your effects. Now, if you go to edit, this is where it's gonna show you all the effects pedals that are currently saved. So we can use blues drive, overdrive, or distortion for the booster. So if you go back, you can push up the booster, and then you see the little light on the top. That means we're using the yellow pedal. So if you go into the edit, we're using distortion here, which is the yellow pedal. But if we wanted to use blues overdrive, for example, we'd tap that button, and then now we're using the green boost, which is the blues drive. So that's how you select the pedals, but you can go one step further, and in Booster, you can actually then fine tune that blues drive pedal. You know, you can adjust the drive, tone, bottom, and all the little settings that you usually find on small effects pedals. So there's apparently over 50 of Boss's effects inbuilt into this, so the tonal possibilities are pretty much endless. So that's how you adjust the sounds. You can save your favorite patches into the library here. And then we also have Tone Central. So Tone Central is a really fun place you can go, because you can go in and you can find patches that Boss have created themselves for well-known songs. So let's have a look at this. Back to Black. So that's supposed to be a play on words for Back in Black. So this should sound like AC/DC. And there's plenty more patches like that for, you know, classic well-known songs like Sweet Child of Mine, for example. So you kind of get the idea. It's a cool place to start. I will note that they don't really update that very often. So that's one thing I really think they could improve on. It's just Boss generated patches, so it's not like it's a free marketplace where people can upload their own tones. Then we have the tuner. So this is really handy, inbuilt tuner, but it's only on the app. So that's another little negative. I wish the tuner was inbuilt onto the front panel, but you can just access it through the app, which is okay as well, but I'd prefer it on the front panel. Then finally in the app, we have system settings, and this is where you can just go through all the other stuff like USB out recording, which I'm using right now, by the way. So that's another one of my favorite features. The USB recording is so crisp and clear. It's really easy to plug into your computer and just start recording some awesome electric tones that are ready to mix. You can also simultaneously record the dry signal as well. So if you want to reamp that particular guitar part later, then you can do that as well. You're not stuck with that particular tone that came out of the Katana. So let's summarize with the pros and cons of this amp. Now, I love the sounds that come out of this amp. The tonal possibilities are almost endless, so that is a massive highlight. Convenience is a massive highlight. The fact that there's a wireless receiver that just turns the amp on as soon as you pick up the guitar is a massive highlight. The USB recording is really great. It means you don't have to mic the amp up, you just plug it into your computer and you can start recording awesome tones. The amp itself is rated at 30 watts, so it can crank very loud. It's probably not going to be loud enough to play with a full band with drums and a bassist, but it will be very loud for any home sort of use. And it sounds good at low volumes as well. So that's another bonus for those who don't want to piss off their neighbors. The final highlight of this amp, I feel, is the small footprint as well. It's tiny, it doesn't take up much desk space, so I just have it next to my computer and I can learn songs and I can jam with it right next to me. It's not very heavy at all, very portable, so it's great for traveling. So what about the things I don't like about this amp? Well, let's start with price. Now, it's not a deal breaker, but this is more expensive than the Katana 50. And the Katana 50 has all the same amps, all the same effects as the Katana Air here. In fact, the Katana range just got updated to the Mark II, so the tones are probably going to be more expansive and sound better than the Katana Air. But you're essentially paying extra for the Bluetooth and for the wireless guitar system there. So the convenience is what you're paying more for. But for the budget conscious, the Katana Air might be a little bit out of your range. But in that case, I would completely recommend a Katana 50. The other thing that I don't like about this amp is the fact that it doesn't have an inbuilt tuner on the top panel. You have to use the app in order to get the tuner working. This is in comparison to practice amps like the Yamaha TH10. That was the one I used before this. The tones are way better in the Katana Air, but it had the tuner, which was pretty handy. And finally, the other thing that I think could be improved is their tone studio. I think they should really expand it to a marketplace where people like you and I can upload our own tones and share them with the world. The BOSS tones that they have in the tone studio are awesome, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't seem like they update it very often. So who is this amp built for? Well, it's probably built for more of the intermediate players out there who just want a really convenient way to practice. It's also great for people with small apartments that don't have a lot of space, small footprint here, and also it sounds good quiet, so you're not going to be annoying any neighbors. So overall, it's an amazing amp. I would definitely recommend it if wireless convenience is something that you're looking for. But if you're a brand new beginner, then I'd probably suggest the Katana 50 range instead of the Katana Air. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review and demonstration of the Katana Air. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, then please leave them below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and click the little notification bell as well so that you don't miss out on my updates. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.